Google Pixel phones hold a special place in my heart. Like I did in 2023, I wanted to start 2024 with a Pixel review video, and I wanted it to be special. And what better Pixel to review than the Pixel 4 XL, the most ambitious Google Pixel ever made. The biggest factor in deciding the Pixel 4 for the review was its orange color. On the funny side, finding an orange Pixel 4 XL is tougher than finding a needle in the haystack. Yes, I could have gotten it on eBay or any other site, but I am just not too trusting when it comes to buying phones online. So I had to content with this white color, which honestly has actually grown on me. It also has this orange accented power button, which gives me some solace in not getting the oh so orange. The phone has a frosted back finish, which has finally made a return with the Pixel 8 Pro. With the black aluminum side frame, this phone is as close to the Pixel 2 XL Panda color as we could ever get. Personally, I love the design of this phone. The camera bar is not huge and doesn't protrude as much. The rounded sides and the button placement is perfect. Oh, and don't forget the sides of the phone are also squeezable. Yes, Google used to do this gimmick. It started with the Pixel 2 and was named Active Edge. I didn't use it much, but I know it was a feature loved by many. This feature would have had so much potential had Google allowed users to remap it. Kinda like Action button on the iPhone 15 Pro, but ahead of its time. Actually, a lot of things about the Pixel 4 were ahead of its time, like motion sense. When I first saw it in action in a teaser video, I was beyond excited. After launch was a different story altogether. Reviewers didn't like it much due to a lack of features and success rate with the motions. But how does it work after all the buzz 4 years later? It's, decent. I've had like a 80 to 90% success rate, and it's even higher once you get the ring of it. The major applications include swiping left or right or towards the phone to control music playback, hovering near the phone to view notifications, dismissing call or alarm sounds, and assisting with faster face unlock. We'll talk about face unlock in a minute. As for my use cases, there aren't any I can think of. The swiping gestures to control music playback are mostly never needed. The only saving grace for motion sense are the ambient display features. When not around, the phone turns off the always on display and smartly turns it back on when you are in the vicinity of the phone. Another useful use case is dismissing alarms or calls by waving at the screen. I love using these gestures and they come in handy almost every day. Other than that, I can't think of anything else. Ever since I've had the Pixel 4, I've had this thought that its best implementation could actually be in the Pixel Watch. That is a topic I will discuss in a future video, so maybe subscribe to the channel. It's time we cross 10,000 subscribers this year. While we are talking about motion sense, let's also talk about face unlock. As someone who has used an iPhone and grown accustomed to its face unlock capabilities, I was really looking forward to the Pixel 4 XL. And boy was I in for a surprise. This is perhaps the fastest face unlock to this date on any phone. It is in fact so fast that I had to turn off lock screen skipping feature. Also, to my surprise, there are quite a few apps that do support Face ID as a biometric to log in. Just like motion sense, Google dropped the ball on face unlock. Had Google kept using it, I think it could have not only rivaled but even defeated Apple's Face ID. Just imagine how dope it would have been with face unlock and under-display fingerprint scanner on Pixel phones. While we didn't get an under-display fingerprint scanner on the Pixel 4, we did get an amazing display. The Pixel 4 was the first Pixel phone to have a smooth 90Hz panel. It is a 6.3-inch display that's still a delight to use every day. I did force 90Hz in the developer options to ensure it was always smooth. Now 90Hz, while not being as smooth as 120Hz, is still much better than 60Hz. As mentioned earlier, one of the biggest reasons I didn't get the Pixel 4 at launch was the presence of a huge forehead and chin. At a time when Android companies were shrinking bezels, Google as usual went the opposite route. Had they managed to make the top bezel slightly thinner and also added stereo speakers, it would have been a different story. On a separate note, the display is bright enough for outdoor use. I couldn't test it under sunlight as we haven't been getting any sun here in Canada. Overall, the display is one of the better parts of owning the Pixel 4. In most previous Pixel phones, battery life was always an issue. While the Pixel 4 had a shockingly low battery capacity, the 4XL still had a relatively respectable 3700 mAh. After running a few charging cycles with Accu battery installed, I got the battery health of the phone at 95ish%, which is shockingly good for a used phone. As for the battery life itself, with 90Hz always on and all the sensors and gimmicks running, this phone doesn't last me a full day. In most cases, I do need to recharge the phone late in the evening. I was averaging around 4 to 5 hours of screen on time depending on my usage, and that's without any gaming or camera use. Not bad for a 4-year-old phone. Charging is not as fast as I would like, but that's still the case with the latest Pixel phones. The phone does charge wirelessly as well. On the software front, this phone sadly was last updated in 2022. It is a shame that Google couldn't update this phone to Android 14. Even then, Android 13 is still really good and I love using Pixel phones due to the stock OS. Also, I know it's old and it's been said many times, but I still love the now playing feature on Pixel phones. As for performance, the phone is running relatively smoothly. 6 gigs of RAM is more than enough for using basic apps. I haven't noticed any major lag or stutter in day-to-day use. There is a minor lag or stutter when switching between apps or doing something CPU intensive, but for a 4-year-old Android phone, it's not all bad. I should point out that you will run into trouble while trying to keep too many apps open in the background. The phone struggles to keep more than 3 or so apps active in the background. I do have the 64 gig storage variant, which is not a lot but decent if you don't take too many photos or install too many apps. Also, I do want to give a special shout out to the haptics of this phone. For a 4-year-old Android phone, the haptics are still really good. Coming from the Flip 5, which weirdly enough has a bad vibration motor, the Pixel 4 feels like a step up. Of course, the major talking point of a Pixel phone has always been its camera. The phone featured a 12 megapixel main camera accompanied by a rather controversial 16 megapixel telephoto lens. I still remember how Google defended the use of a telephoto lens instead of the ultra-wide.
While wide angle can be fun, we think telephoto is more important.
In hindsight, Google was, once again, ahead of its time. I'll talk about it more in another video. As for the photos itself, the phone still takes amazing shots. The main camera has that contrasty HDR vibe Pixel phones are famous for. In good lighting, the shots are great with amazing dynamic range and colors. The telephoto camera is also helpful with its 2x reach. Obviously, the camera isn't as versatile or as great as recent Pixel phones, but for a 4-year-old Android phone, I think it still produces social media worthy shots. As is the case for an old camera, the pictures do tend to fall apart in less than ideal lighting. That's fine with me as I never find myself taking such shots. The phone does have night mode, which comes in handy during these situations. Video capabilities on older Pixel phones were always questionable. The video on this phone is fine but not exceptional. The main camera caps at 4K 30fps while the front is limited to 1080p. On the flip side, I did really like this video I captured on New Year's Eve in Niagara Falls. In limited lighting, the phone still managed to capture decent looking footage. With that, this long review about the Pixel 4 comes to an end. The Pixel 4 has always been on my bucket list of phones. It was a phone that didn't receive much love from the tech community. But after using it for the past couple of weeks, I can confidently say that it has changed my mind. Sure, the phone has flaws, but it's still a phone that most likely was the last time Google tried really hard to innovate. Had Google promised more software updates for this phone, I would have had no issues recommending this phone to my audience. But with no more updates, this one is hard to recommend. Even then, I have enjoyed using this phone more than I thought I would. Well, that's it for this video folks. Subscribe and I'll catch you in the next one.